I would now like to request Mr. V. Shanmugam to share his views on the topic.
Distinguished panelists over here and the august audience, I should say a good afternoon being the first wish to you, good morning to you. Looking back or gathering back what we have talked, so far, maybe from the inaugural session up to now, I'm here, from an entirely different entity, not from the banking side, but from the capital market side. I'm here to tell you how, we are going to drive this process of the growth of the banks, in the coming millennium. Actually, as you must have heard through these talks, three live examples are here. Banking sector have gone through these fundamental forces of privatization, liberalization, and globalization, which was the forces which has driven the economy since the early 90s, actually. And one of the examples of privatization today we have here, Mr. Tangsale, talking to us about the mergers and acquisitions, just because that there is a competition which has been introduced in the banking sector. And liberalization, we are talking today about the banks setting up, private banks setting up branches over here, MNC banks setting up over here. It's purely because of the liberalization process that has been set for. In the globalization process, because of which today we are on this stage talking about the Basel III norms and requirements, actually. End of the day, privatization and liberalization did provide us in terms of product innovation, improved access, innovative products. Thinking about it little, 2002, used to serve in Delhi with the US Department of Agriculture. I remember that, like, I used to have all those, luxury to go to a, electricity provider's office with the bill that he has and give the check and get the receipts. Or maybe I will have the security guard of the apartment to pay that and give me the receipt or whatever it is, actually. And I came back over here into Mumbai to join the commodity exchange. We have, because our time is so precious, we should not spend time using that. We had peons doing that. But all of a sudden, way back in 2008 or 2009, I saw that those peons are vanished, actually. I was just wondering, how can I pay my bills? And the simple response that I got was that our office recognized that today you can pay bills just because that the banks are connected to these, vendors, and you can pay the bills just through the net banking system, which is enabled by the technology, which is what we as consumers are experiencing through the forces of privatization and liberalization. And globalization helped us, the Indian banks to have some global footprint and the MNC banks to have the Indian footprint over here and improve in terms of product offerings and bringing the global best practices into the Indian markets. But the challenge to the banking model from here across is to widen the offering across asset classes. Actually, how can they do it? With the current simple model of deposit taking and lending, it's simply not possible. And that's one of the reasons I think you must be aware of that State Bank setting up its own, have its own capital markets entity, have its own mutual funds, have its own life insurance entity. That's just because that let us not only distribute the products, financial products out to the customers. Let's move up the value chain. Let's produce those products and give it to the customer so that we can reap the value at the same time we can provide value to the customers. And yet, what is the growth that we have seen over here is that, like, they all remained with the urban customers who are linked to the the banks in a much more vibrant way, but not with the rural customers. But so that left us one important question, especially with the policy making. Where is this financial inclusion that we are talking about? There is this one class of urban elite or the high income individuals who are growing more and more, but there is this rural class which are depending on asset classes which are a little outdated or whatever it is. Maybe I would not say that about gold, which they are dependent on, but on the other asset classes which they are dependent on, or exclusively on cash, which we are talking about. The rural market today is basically dependent on gold and the property markets actually. Rather, if banking had expanded, it would have looked at diverting that into the financial products and the capital market oriented products, and this is where the growth is likely to be. I think with the current avowed objective of the finance minister to have some brick and mortar type of banking to all the villages which are above 2,000 population, which will help us, achieving this financial inclusion objective in a partial way. That is to say that the rural markets should move from the brick and mortar type banking into click and operate type of banking, in order to be much more inclusive in the process. So, and taking to the corporate markets, sector access to the finance. What are the access that they have today in the markets, which is one, if I were left to say ECBs or FCCBs. I mean, both have their own conversion rate risks and both have their own foreign exchange risks. And then what's left out is CDs and CPs, which are not that much conducive in the current interest rate environment. And then what is left out with, you have two options as corporates in order to raise the capital, which is, in terms of the loan which you could take from the banks, or in terms of the risk capital that you could raise from the markets. So to say that it's the environment will determine which the people would want to take, rather than we have come to a situation wherein rather than the regulators should say what should be, the environment will decide what should people do to remain economical, to remain competitive in such a globalized scenario. And so to say that the capital markets and the banks are not two distinct islands which have their own rulers, which are separated by clear waterways or things like that. They have clear roads which are connecting them with each other. They have rulers which are regulators of the capital markets, which are in close contact with each of the market and the stakeholders. And to say that those who are aware are unaware of this kind of a connection that we have, like the hedge funds in the US markets, which have the 220 model, we have 2020 model here, through which banks today, at least many of the banks today, have 20% direct exposure and 20% indirect exposure to the capital markets. What are these, indirect or direct exposures? Indirect exposures in terms of lending to the brokers, managing the accounts of the brokers. The direct exposures would mean, participating in IPO, financing IPOs and things like that. So this had contributed to the seamless integration of banks into the markets, and also enabled by the calibrated reform measures which have been taken by the regulators of both the banking sector and the capital market sector. And exchanges provided a risk-free environment which further enabled, the growth of the capital markets in India. To conclude it, they are not, two different markets which are separated by, they are interlinked, and the growth which can only happen through fund-based activities rather than, fee-based activities rather than the fund-based activities is the next level of growth that I'm going to see. To conclude it in a much lighter way, walking through the other market, the weekend before the Ganesh Chaturthi, getting my own Ganesha, I found that there were Ganesh which are made out of China actually. So to say that, reading through the literature which are available, China is considered as a, I would say, manufacturing factory for the world, right? And India is, no less than that. But we are not manufacturing factory, but we are intellectual factory for the world as such. So why do we say that, or what qualifies me to say that, is that, last one decade you can see that BPOs and KPOs and different, from legal to medical to every other angles, just because that we are knowledgeable people and we can leverage this intellectual capital to provide services over the entire global markets. And in fact, many of these global, banks, in fact, Mr. Madok's own chief executive is an Indian for that matter. So they have enabled how people can participate in the markets and yet, provide the benefits of the growth over to the people. To see to it that the key factors of financial inclusion, which is wealth creation, capital formation, our wealth creation and wealth sharing, capital formation, and employment generation are made through. So I'm seeing this decade of banking an opportunity to move into the next orbit of their business growth through fee-based services and business opportunities arising out of contributing to the growth of Indian capital markets. With this, I just don't want to sit in between your lunch and the question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your views on the topic. I would now like to throw the house open for questions from the members in the audience.
My question is for Mr. Tangsale. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I'm Pushpajit Singh from Indian Institute of Foreign Trade. Sir, in your very informative presentation, you mentioned the advantages of mergers between big banks. But looking at it from another perspective, don't you think these mergers would minimize the competition that currently prevails in the banking industry and hence might affect the retail customers adversely?
Let me tell you that banking is such a big space that even with the consolidations, the competition will be there. You know, when the banking sector was open to the private sector, to the foreign banks, probably people thought that the public sector banks will lose out. The public sector banks are still maintaining the dominant share of almost 73-74%. And the market size is such big, at which is going to emerge as a big size. I don't think that there will be any complacency or any room for you to relax that there is no competition now.
If I might just add, India bank credit is about 50-50, between 50 and 60% of GDP. The same number for China is 120%.
Hello sir, I am Ravi Choisani from Sadhana Center for Management and Leadership Development. Our college is in Pune. Sir, I have a question regarding mergers and acquisitions. Sir, that the most of the mergers and acquisitions, the highest ones you see, the largest ones, the Bharti Airtel MTN deal, the various deals, Tata Quartz deals. So have these been funded by, I think the most have been funded by the foreign banks, or I have recently read in news in Economic Times that the FCCB routes is rising. $4.16 trillion is, I think, has been, $4.16 billion has been from FCCB route. So does it really help the Indian banks, or is it again helping the foreign banks?
Well, as I said that we really need to have big banks to support this kind of a merger and acquisition to be funded by one entity. If you all recall one single transaction of Tata acquiring Jaguar, it's one single bank, State Bank of India, who gave the guarantee, and I think the Tatas could do the transaction. So on the same lines, I think if we have the big banks in the country, probably the corporates will have that kind of comfort. Okay, fine, I've got that kind of support.
Thank you, sir. One more question I have. So one of the mergers that was done regarding HDFC Bank and Centurion Bank of Punjab, $2.4 billion. Sir, do you see any kind of future possibilities in case of mergers and acquisitions in case of the banks or financial services?
Now, I think throughout the presentation I did say that there is a need.
Any other questions? The banking sector progress will be a subject of scrutiny for the next many months to come, and inflation and interest rates would be other factors that will be carefully looked into. Thank you, sirs, for having shared your views with us. I'm sure most of us will go back and rake our brains on the insights that we are taking away from the session. Now, as a token of our appreciation, I would request our Corporate and Placement Advisor, Mr. Munish Bhargava, to kindly hand over the mementos to our esteemed speakers for the session. I once again thank you all for being a part of